Hey, Niklaus. It's so good to see you.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the middle of my strawberry field out
Oh,
in Saskatchewan.
oh yeah, it looks pretty nice.
It is pretty nice. It's all covered with straw to protect it from the cold winter we're about to head into. And I'm really excited. You looks like you're in your blueberry field.
Yeah, we're in the blueberry field. It's everybody's well, everything's kind of going dormant here as well. All the blueberry leaves are turning red, so it's quite a pretty time of the year.
Can you just tell us where you are?
Oh yeah, I'm in Chilliwack, British Columbia, and we have a farm here. It's a biodynamic farm, and it is just about 100 acres, and it's a mixed farm. We have cows, we have lots of chickens. Well, not a lot of chickens, but we have cows, chickens, a couple of horses. We grow mostly vegetables, and we sell at farmers markets. So we're just a little market garden farm, and it's a family-run farm. So my mom and dad started the farm in the 70s, and you were on the farm, so you probably know that. But for all of your friends who are watching, there's a little bit of history of the farm. So my parents started the farm in the 70s, and they were really passionate about organic farming and organic agriculture and the movement there. So uh, I guess how many years later? So we're like almost 50, 40 or 50 years later. My dad's still on the farm with me and my brother Travis and our families, and Roseanne is also here. And yeah, so that's kind of really quick explanation or of what we do here. So
That's awesome. And thanks so much for joining us today. And the reason I wanted you to bring you into this conversation is because there's a lot of curiosity in the world right now about a lot of different things. One is the pandemic we're in. Another one is the climate change that we are all experiencing, and another is our health, people's health falling apart. And one of the topics that seems to really be on a lot of people's hearts and in a lot of people's conversations is regenerative agriculture. And more and more people are wondering what exactly regenerative agriculture is. There's a lot of farmers who are implementing different pieces and parts of regenerative agriculture, and consumers are starting to look for regenerative agriculture products. Everything from pulses and vegetables to meat and uh, meat substitutes on their tables. So, and I know that from farming organically with our mom and dad that we've been practicing regenerative agriculture for a really long time with biodynamics and biological farming and the type of organic farming that we do. And I'm wondering if you can tell us specifically what biodynamic farming is and how is a form and practice of regenerative farming.
well, to the quick way to explain biodynamic farming, I guess if you went in a time machine and went back to 1924 when Rudolf Steiner gave a lecture to a bunch of concerned farmers and gardeners who were noticed that the food that they were eating wasn't as uh, nutritious or there isn't the same vitality in it. Their soil wasn't growing the crops that they were um, the same yields, the crops that they were growing. And so they had this concern, and so they brought it to Rudolf Steiner. So he studied it a little bit. And we have to keep in mind in 1924, that was before the Green Revolution and the advent of all of the chemical agriculture, like what we now call conventional agriculture. So back then, conventional agriculture would have just simply been organic agriculture, mostly through plowing and tilling, doing a lot of stuff like that. So they were noticing that the food wasn't quite as good as they wanted it to be. The animals weren't quite as healthy. The fields wouldn't recover as quickly. So Rudolf Steiner came up with basically it's a philosophy or a ideology of farming, and it's looking at the farm and the soil as as a living organism, as like because it is because of all the microorganisms in the soil. So looking to make your farm healthy in order for you to be able to grow healthy food. So that's quickly, I guess, the easiest, quickest way to explain what and where biodynamics came from. It came from an organic system, but they realized that something had to be better. And I think when you look at the world right now and the movement that's afoot with regenerative agriculture, that is happening exactly right now as well. There's something missing, some people are feeling in the organic, in the organic method, which is, some organic farmers, like, they do their best and they do what they know best in producing, the best food that they know how to produce. But some of these methods, they do a lot of tilling. They'll use, products. They'll use a lot of inputs on their farm, which aren't necessarily bad for them or for the environment or necessarily their plants. But in order to have the most healthy and most nutrient dense food, you want to make sure the ecosystem and the soil food web that the plant's growing in is a healthy one, so that the plant can take up all the nutrients and, I guess, be the kingdom of its domain and grow the healthiest, so that when you're eating, a head of lettuce or you're eating some blueberries or strawberries, then you have, the healthier food. And if you look behind you in your strawberry field, if you look at where plants come from in their natural environment, some plants come from a really fungally dominated soil or fungally dominated environment, and so you cover your strawberries with straw, and if you lift up the straw after several weeks, you'll be able to see all the fungal hyphae that are growing underneath there, and that helps actually make it so the environment that the strawberries are growing in, that's really conducive to the plants, and that'll help their health, because it'll make sure a lot of good microorganisms and friends are there to make them grow, so they'll be happy. So yeah,
that's really, I love the way you summed that up. It's really about creating a healthy environment for our food to grow in and be the most nutritious and delicious as it can be. So what are some of the, quickly, just give us some ideas, what is different between organic farming and biodynamic farming and maybe regenerative farming? So you Rudolf Steiner understood he had to do something like a little bit different, a little bit better. What specifically, what was that?
Well, so some of, like I mentioned at the beginning when I was talking about our farm, like we have, we grow vegetables, and that's what the main crop that we grow and we sell at the farmers markets. But we also have an animal component on our farm. So like we want to have the whole diverse ecosystem of, we want to have plants, we want to have animals, we want to have healthy soil, we want to have healthy people. So so part of it is being like a mixed farm. So we're not going to be growing the exact same crop every year. And I think that, there's even, there's biodynamic farms who, they do the grains, they focus on grains, but they'll also, multi-plant different species. They'll have cows and they'll make their own compost. And that's, I guess, one of the special things about the biodynamic movement is like the focus on the compost, making sure that you have really good, rich compost in order to help your plants thrive. So
that's awesome. So and what scales farms are biodynamic? Are they mostly smaller market garden farms, or are there some larger farms, or what what are the principles around that practice?
Well, you'll find a lot of all different sides of the farms are biodynamic, and the craziest thing is like the niche for or biodynamic farms around the world, like probably coming out of France and Italy. There's a lot of biodynamic wineries because they notice like the finished product is so much better, and then so it's almost become like a status symbol. And in British Columbia, there's lots of wineries that use all the biodynamic preparations, and they use biodynamic methods so that they can not even so that they could say they're using it, but because they know that the wine that they are making from it is superior to a product that they would be making had they not been using these practices. So, I mean, there's like there's so many different elements and micronutrients that the plants have a hard time taking up in the conventional way that we we grow food. Like we pour on certain nutrients, like we pour on nitrogen, and so the plants they look like they grow really fast, and then so we're great and all excited about yield. But there's like all the little micronutrients and all the microorganisms that are feeding the plants. If the plant is healthy, then it's going to grow great food. It won't be just kind of pumped full of, I guess what you would call steroids in the
Right,
human world. But
right.
so, and like just to tie it all back into like we're talking about the health of people, the health of our plants, the health of our planet. Like all of these things are really important to us as farmers, whether I'm a conventional farmer or a biodynamic farmer or regenerative or organic farm. Like all farmers, like we're all doing is what we think is best and what we know is best.
Hmm.
So it's great to see the regenerative kind of agriculture movement, go forward, and it's gaining a lot of momentum, and it's changing changing the way a lot of people are doing a lot of things. So I mean that's great, and I think it'll continue to move forward. I think the part of the concern that some people might have, well, I would have about it is it's still like people are doing no till, which is great because tilling, that's one of the main causes of killing the fungi and the microorganisms in the soil and the microarthropods and in our protozoa. But so they'll grow a crop, and then in order to kill it, they will use glyphosate or spray it. So that that's not necessarily a great way to do it. And so there's right now, like the regenerative movement is moving so fast, but it's not regulated at all. And not that it has to be regulated, but there's no necessarily consensus on what regenerative agriculture is. There's lots of different aspects to it. So yeah, there's a lot of growing growing to do, but I think it's a all around a great thing. So
Yeah, well, what's really exciting is it feels like it's really bridging a lot of conversations, and it's bridging a lot of curiosity, both within the agriculture community, conventional, organic, biodynamic, biological, and all the way over to the consumer side. People are really starting to really care about more deeply. So I think people have always cared, but more deeply, more intentional of how they're eating and where their food is coming from, and also not just the health of our food, but also the health of our farmers, right? Like there's a lot of farmers who are waking up who are really looking at their health and how it's being impacted by the way they're farming. You use preparations in biodynamic farming, which is one of my favorite things.
I have some horns here. This is the fall, and so in the fall, what we do is we fill cow horns with manure, and we bury them over the winter months, and then we dig them up in the spring. And then what goes in the horns is like it's just like a manure, so it's smells like manure, and it's green like manure. But when it comes out of the horn in the spring, then it's just like a rich, earthy substance that we just use to spray on our fields to help promote the growth of and the health of the soil. So I'll just show you quickly. So I have a pile of horns here, and if you look in the horn, you can see like all the white, like the fungi, and then you can see also on the outside of some of the horns, they'll have like some red. So it's just kind of cool. Like biodiversity and lots of different critters and microorganisms is important, and so to promote the health of the farm, this is one of the things we do in order to help that. So it's important to realize it's not like a fertilizer, and it's not like an input where you're doing this in order so that the plants grow a lot. But you're doing it in order so that the soil is healthy, so that the plants are healthy, so that in turn you are healthy or the farm is healthy, and then we also selling healthy food to our customers. And as far as the scale, like we have in British Columbia, we have the BC Association of or the Biodynamic Agriculture Association, and it's Agriculture and Gardeners Association, I think. So there's a lot of backyard gardeners who do, they just have their little compost pile. They'll grow a couple rows of carrots and beets and zucchini plants in their gardens. And they contact us. They don't make all the preparations in their backyard. Some of them make some of the preparations, but they're accessible through the Demeter BC website and through other places like the Josephine Porter Institute in the United States. So there's lots of different places to get the preparation. So yeah.
That's awesome. So if I'm a backyard gardener, I could, I'll put some links on with this interview so that people can find where to get some biodynamic preparations, and then I just sprinkle them into my compost, and then.
Yeah. So we have some. There's compost preparations. What you do, just put in your compost, and while your compost is heating up, or while it's in your backyard, for 3 or 4 months, you compost just kind of ages and turns into like the green manure or whatever it is, into this earthy, beautiful, rich soil. So yeah, you just put it in there, and it just helps promote the good microorganisms or the healthy microorganisms. So yeah.
Awesome. And so what if I don't have a compost pile and I want to use biodynamic preparation to put more healthy microbes and life into my soil?
Well, you can always make a compost pile, or there's also this thing called barrel compost, which is also available. And basically, barrel compost is, where a farmer will make a small pit of manure and with all the preparations in it. And so you can get a small amount of that, and that'll treat. And when we're talking about putting compost on your, the only input we use on our farm for our crops is compost. And we use like a really light dusting of compost. And our yields are great. Our plants are happy. We get a lot of hay off of our hay fields, and it's comparable to our neighbors who do all these other, have to spend, I don't know, $5,000 an acre on inputs. You just need there's such a little amount, because like Elaine Ingham, she says if your soil has 3% organic matter, so 3% of organic matter, then it has everything that it needs to grow food, or everything that it needs to grow plants. But what's often missing is the microorganisms. And 3% of organic matter is such a little amount. But if there's 3% organic matter, that means that plants were growing there at one point, and so it has the ability to sustain life, I guess. As a biodynamic farmer or as an organic farmer, a lot of what we do is observe. And so when you're growing something, in your backyard garden or wherever, just watch it grow. Like it grows from this tiny little seed that, grows this amazing plant. Like the information that seed has in it, just to think that it has all of the code that it needs in order to grow the plant, this amazing plant. And we don't actually really have to do anything. Every once in a while we could pull out some weeds, or we can make sure it has enough water. But if it's a healthy plant, then we don't even, and if the soil's healthy around it, that's conducive to the plant. If you go to old growth forest, you'll notice that there's no weeds. It could be full of weed seeds and the weeds won't grow, because the soil microorganisms, it's not conducive to weeds. And that's the same if you're growing a field of carrots. If you hit the sweet spot as far as the soil microorganisms for what you need to grow carrots, then you're going to grow carrots and not a lot of weeds. So a lot of the health of the soil is understanding what you're doing, or what the soil's doing, or what the soil wants to grow. Because if you till a lot, then you're moving the soil back in succession. So it's an early succession soil. It's going to want to grow weeds. And you're talking about climate change. Like the most important thing, like the plants, they absorb the carbon from the CO2 from the atmosphere, and over 40% of the carbon gets fed into the soil, into the fungi and the bacteria. Most of it's into the fungi, and that stores the carbon in the soil. It's not necessarily the plants that are storing the carbon. It's not the trees that, like, they're taking it out of the atmosphere, they're absorbing it, and they're pumping it into the ground, and feeding the fungi. And when we till and when we, disrupt the structure of the soil, what we're doing is we're releasing that carbon back into the atmosphere, and we're making it so the Earth doesn't have the ability to hold that carbon. So, that's another reason why it's really important to, just to understand the soil, and the microorganisms in the soil and what they do, and the plant's relationship to it, and our relationship and how we can help it. So.
Awesome. And for a farmer who wanted to learn more about biodynamics, what would be one of the first steps? Like I'm a small market gardener, or maybe I have thousands of acres of grain. Where would I start? What questions would I be asking?
So if you're in Canada, then you should just contact Demeter Canada, or in British Columbia you can. There's biodynamic associations in most of the provinces, for sure, in Ontario and in BC and in Quebec, and in the United States there's the Biodynamic Association for the entire United States, and there's local ones as well. And you'll notice that biodynamic farmers, they're not the type of farmers who kind of keep all their secrets and don't want to tell anybody, but they're willing to share. Usually they're willing to mentor. So if you're actually serious about it and you're interested in it, then you'll have if you have a listening ear, then definitely you're able to learn. The opportunity is there to learn. It's just a matter of what your curiosity level is, and what are you willing to go on a mission. A lot of biodynamic, there, like the Josephine Porter Institute, their slogan is "So the earth may be healed." A lot of them are, they think bigger than their own farm. They think bigger than their own crops. They think they think about all of humanity, and not only necessarily humanity, but all of the world. Like, it's a really important. It's really important to take care of, the world, and take care of our health, and take care of the soil. It's micro, but then it's also macro. So that's all. I guess that's how there's lots of people who are willing to talk.
And I love what you said about the seed, the seed just having the innate knowledge to grow and to manifest into the plant that it's meant to manifest into. And we as people and as humanity can maybe deepen into that. And as we notice what our next steps are, and our responsibility is to look after the earth and the soil, and to support each other with all the knowledge that we have.
Hello, Natalie. Are you still there?
I'm still there.
My
Yeah.
Dad was just calling me because he wants to come and pick beets with me. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, go and pick beets. Enjoy. Thank you so much for your time. I love you, and I can't wait to go and be at the farm and visit you guys again. And thanks for championing so many farmers and biodynamics and biological farming.
Good luck with your little farm there too. I hope they're do really well, and good luck with your magazine and in all your interviews. Take care and keep going.
All right.
Okay?
Thanks. Lots of love.
Yeah.
Bye.